Welcome to the detailed explanation of the book Who Moved My Cheese? By the author Dr. Spencer Johnson. In this summary, we'll explore powerful lessons about dealing with change in life and work. If you like our content, please subscribe. It gives us a lot of motivation to create more for you. Let's dive in. Introduction: change is something that touches every part of our lives. From the smallest daily adjustments to the biggest life events, change is always happening. Yet, for many of us, change is something we resist. We get comfortable with the way things are. We find routines, jobs, relationships, and habits that feel safe, and we hold on to them tightly. When change comes, when the job ends, the relationship shifts, the market transforms, or the familiar pattern no longer works, we feel lost. We feel frustrated, afraid, or even angry. We wonder who took away what we depended on. We search for someone to blame. But the truth is, change is a natural part of life. It is not about who ate the cheese. It is about how we respond when the cheese is gone. This book is about learning to respond to change with clarity, courage, and confidence. It is about letting go of the need to cling to what was, and learning to embrace what is. It is about seeing change not as a threat, but as an opportunity. A chance to grow, to discover new strengths, and to build a future that reflects who we truly are. In these pages, we will explore how to recognize when change is needed, how to face the fear that often comes with change, and how to take action that moves us forward. We will look at simple, practical steps that anyone can take to navigate change with more ease and grace. The goal is not to eliminate change, because that is impossible. The goal is to become someone who can move with change rather than against it. One of the first lessons of embracing change is understanding that clinging to the past does not keep us safe. In fact, it often keeps us stuck. When we hold on to what no longer serves us, we miss out on new opportunities. We waste energy fighting reality rather than using that energy to create something better. Millionaires, leaders, and people who thrive in uncertain times have learned this lesson. They do not waste time complaining about what has changed. They focus on what they can do next. They keep moving, keep learning, and keep growing. This mindset is not something they were born with. It is something they built through daily choices. And it is a mindset that we can all choose to build, starting today. Fear of change is normal. It is human. Our brains are wired to seek safety, and the familiar feels safe. But staying in the same place when everything around us is shifting can actually create more risk, not less. When we ignore the signs that change is happening, we fall behind. When we refuse to adapt, we limit our own growth. The good news is that fear does not have to stop us. Fear can be a signal, not to freeze or retreat, but to pay attention, to prepare, and to act. Throughout this book, we will look at ways to turn fear into fuel for action. We will see how small steps, taken consistently, can build confidence and momentum. We will learn that we do not have to have all the answers before we begin. We simply have to begin. Another key idea in this book is that change is not a one-time event. It is a constant process. Life is always moving. Markets change. Technologies evolve. Relationships grow and shift. Our own needs, goals, and values change as we gain experience and wisdom. When we expect things to stay the same, we set ourselves up for disappointment. But when we learn to expect change, we become more flexible, more resilient, and more ready for whatever comes. We stop seeing change as a problem and start seeing it as a natural, even exciting, part of life. This book is not about quick fixes or magic answers. It is about building the habits and attitudes that make it easier to move through change with strength and grace. Each chapter will explore a different part of this journey, from recognizing the need for change, to facing fear, to taking action, to helping others do the same. The examples and ideas shared here are drawn from real life, from people who have faced change and found ways to thrive. The goal is to give you tools you can use right now, in your own life, no matter what kind of change you are facing. In reading this book, I invite you to reflect on your own experiences with change. Where have you clung to the familiar, even when it no longer served you? Where have you found the courage to move forward, even when it was hard? What lessons have you learned from the changes you have faced so far? And what changes might be calling you now? These are powerful questions. They can help you see where you are and where you want to go. They can help you build a relationship with change that is based not on fear, but on trust. Trust in yourself, trust in your ability to adapt, and trust in the process of growth. At its heart, Who Ate My Cheese? Is a book about empowerment. It is about realizing that while we cannot always control what changes, we can always choose how we respond. We can choose to let go of blame, to stop waiting for the old cheese to come back, and to start searching for new possibilities. We can choose to see change as an invitation to become more of who we are meant to be. And in doing so, we can create lives that are not only successful, but also rich in meaning, connection, and joy. Chapter 1: The Nature of Change. Change is everywhere. It is part of nature, part of business, part of relationships, and part of our own personal journey. No matter how much we might wish for things to stay the same, the world keeps moving. The seasons shift, technology advances, people grow, and markets evolve. This is simply how life works. Understanding the nature of change is the first step toward embracing it, rather than fearing it. When we see change not as something to fight, but as something to work with, we free ourselves from unnecessary stress and open the door to new opportunities. Millionaires, entrepreneurs, and resilient individuals understand this truth deeply. They have learned that success is not about avoiding change, but about learning how to move with it, adapt to it, and even welcome it. One of the reasons change can feel so difficult is that it often arrives without warning. A job that once felt secure disappears. A business that was thriving begins to struggle. A relationship we counted on shifts in ways we didn't expect. When this happens, it can feel like the ground has been pulled out from under us. We find ourselves asking, "What happened? Who took away what I depended on?" But when we look closely, we often see that change was coming all along. There were signs. There were shifts in the market, in people's behavior, in our own feelings. It's just that we didn't want to see them. We held on to what was familiar, hoping it would last forever. The nature of change, though, is that it keeps moving whether we're ready or not. Another important truth about change is that it is neither good nor bad on its own. It is simply change. What makes it feel positive or negative is how we interpret it and how we respond. A change that at first seems like a setback can open the door to something better. A change that feels exciting can bring unexpected challenges. The key is to stay open, curious, and flexible. When we stop labeling change as something to fear or resist, we start to see it as a natural part of growth. We start to ask, "What can I learn from this? How can I use this to become stronger, wiser, or more prepared for what's next?" Change also teaches us about what we truly value. When the familiar is taken away, we are forced to look at what really matters. We see more clearly what we were clinging to out of habit, and what we want to build with intention. This clarity can be a gift. It helps us let go of what no longer serves us and focus our energy on creating something that does. Millionaires and other successful people use change as a chance to reassess, to innovate, and to align their actions with their deepest values. They see change not as a loss, but as a chance to refine their vision and move closer to their goals. The nature of change is also that it is constant. No matter how stable something seems today, it will eventually shift. This can sound discouraging at first, but it's actually empowering. When we accept that change is inevitable, we stop wasting energy trying to hold everything in place. Instead, we use that energy to prepare, to adapt, and to grow. We become proactive rather than reactive. We start looking ahead, asking ourselves, "What changes might be coming? How can I position myself to navigate them well?" This mindset turns change from a source of fear into a source of opportunity. It is also worth remembering that change often begins within. The external shifts, the new job, the new technology, the new relationship dynamic, are just the surface. The deeper change happens in how we think, how we see ourselves, and how we choose to act. Millionaires and others who thrive in changing environments work on themselves as much as they work on their businesses or goals. They cultivate qualities like resilience, curiosity, and courage. They build habits that help them stay steady in uncertain times. They understand that the more flexible they are inside, the more capable they are of handling whatever happens outside. Another part of the nature of change is that it invites us to grow. When things stay the same for too long, we can become complacent. We stop learning, stop stretching, stop imagining what might be possible. Change shakes us out of that comfort zone. It pushes us to develop new skills, to try new approaches, to think in new ways. This growth is not always easy. It can feel uncomfortable, even painful at times. But it is how we become stronger, wiser, and more capable. Millionaires often credit the biggest changes in their lives, not the smooth, easy times, with teaching them the most valuable lessons and helping them achieve the greatest success. Finally, change reminds us that we are not alone. Everyone experiences change. Everyone faces moments when the familiar disappears and the path ahead feels uncertain. When we remember this, we can approach change with more compassion, for ourselves and for others. We can support one another through transitions. We can share what we've learned and help others find their way. This sense of shared experience turns change from an isolated struggle into a collective journey. It helps us see that while we may not control change, we can control how we meet it, and that together, we are stronger. Chapter 2: Recognizing when the cheese is gone. One of the most important skills we can develop in life is the ability to see clearly when something has changed. Whether it is in our work, relationships, finances, or personal goals, recognizing when the cheese is gone, the thing we relied on, the familiar pattern we depended on, is the first step toward adapting. Yet, this is something many of us struggle with. We hold on to what used to work, hoping that if we just try harder or wait a little longer, things will go back to how they were. But the truth is, the sooner we see that change has come, the sooner we can begin to move forward. Millionaires and successful leaders have learned this lesson well. They do not waste time clinging to what no longer exists. Instead, they look for signs, accept reality, and take action. Recognizing when the cheese is gone begins with paying attention. Often, change gives us signals long before it becomes undeniable. In business, it might be declining sales, shifting customer preferences, or new competitors entering the market. In relationships, it could be growing distance, repeated conflicts, or a change in shared values. In our personal lives, it might be a sense of restlessness, frustration, or the feeling that we are no longer growing. These signs are like whispers at first. They invite us to look more closely, to ask honest questions, and to consider whether what we've been counting on is still there. The challenge is that it's easy to ignore these signs. We tell ourselves stories to stay comfortable. It's just a phase. Things will get better soon. If I work harder, I can make it like it was. But denial only delays the inevitable and often makes the adjustment harder when we can no longer avoid it. Another reason it can be hard to recognize when the cheese is gone is fear. Seeing that something has changed means facing the unknown. It means stepping away from what is familiar and stepping into uncertainty. That can feel risky. We worry about failing, about making the wrong move, about what others will think. But what millionaires and other resilient people have discovered is that staying stuck out of fear is often the greater risk. The longer we stay in a situation that no longer serves us, the more we lose time, energy, opportunity. Recognizing change early allows us to respond while we still have options, resources, and strength. Part of recognizing when the cheese is gone is learning to separate hope from reality. Hope is a beautiful thing. It gives us strength, helps us persevere, and keeps us focused on positive outcomes. But hope must be grounded in truth. Hoping that a situation will improve is not the same as taking action to improve it. Hoping that things will go back to the way they were is not the same as adapting to what is. Millionaires balance hope with realism. They stay optimistic, but they do not let hope blind them to the facts. They ask tough questions. Is what I'm doing still working? Is this path still leading where I want to go? What has changed, and what do I need to change in response? Recognizing that the cheese is gone also means accepting that change is not personal. When something shifts, when a job ends, a market changes, or a relationship transforms, it is easy to take it as a personal failure. We think, "What did I do wrong?" Or, "Why is this happening to me?" But change happens to everyone. It is part of life's flow. Millionaires do not waste energy blaming themselves or others for change. Instead, they focus on what is within their control, how they respond. They understand that the question is not, "Why did this happen?" but, "What will I do now that it has?" There is great freedom in recognizing when the cheese is gone. It allows us to stop clinging to the past and start creating a future. It opens the door to new ideas, new strategies, and new opportunities. It helps us let go of what no longer serves us so that we can build something that does. Millionaires see this not as loss, but as renewal. Each change is a chance to grow, to innovate, and to move closer to their true goals. In the end, the ability to recognize when the cheese is gone is a form of wisdom. It is the wisdom to see things as they are, not as we wish they were. It is the courage to face reality with open eyes and an open heart. And it is the strength to take that first step towards something new, even when the path ahead is not yet clear. Chapter 3: The Fear That Keeps Us Stuck. Fear is one of the most powerful forces in our lives. It has the ability to keep us safe, to make us cautious when caution is wise, and to help us survive danger. But fear can also hold us back. It can keep us clinging to situations that no longer serve us. It can convince us that staying where we are, even if we are unhappy or unfulfilled, is better than facing the unknown. Fear whispers that change is risky, that the future might be worse, that we are not strong enough to handle what comes next. And so we stay. We wait. We hope that somehow the situation will fix itself, that the cheese will return on its own. But millionaires and people who thrive through change have learned a different lesson. Fear is natural, but it does not have to decide our future. The fear that keeps us stuck often begins with uncertainty. When something familiar disappears, whether it's a job, a business model, a relationship, or a way of thinking, we are left facing the unknown. We don't know exactly what will come next, and that not knowing feels uncomfortable. Our minds fill in the blanks with worst-case scenarios. We imagine failure, loss, rejection. We focus on everything that could go wrong, and this focus makes the fear feel even bigger. But the truth is, uncertainty is simply part of life. Millionaires accept this. They know that no path is guaranteed, no plan is perfect. What matters is not eliminating uncertainty, but learning to move forward despite it. Another kind of fear that keeps us stuck is the fear of failure. We worry that if we try something new, we might not succeed. We might make mistakes, lose money, or face criticism. This fear can be paralyzing because it touches our sense of worth. We tell ourselves, "If I fail, it means I'm not good enough." But millionaires see failure differently. They understand that failure is not a sign of weakness, it is part of growth. Every successful person has faced setbacks. What sets them apart is that they did not let the fear of failure stop them from trying. They see each attempt as a learning opportunity, a chance to gain experience, and a step toward eventual success. There is also the fear of leaving the comfort zone. Even when a situation is no longer working, it can feel safer to stay because it is familiar. The known, even when uncomfortable, feels less frightening than the unknown. We think, "At least I know how things work here. At least I know what to expect." But millionaires and resilient individuals have learned that true growth does not happen inside the comfort zone. The greatest opportunities, the biggest breakthroughs, the most meaningful achievements all lie beyond it. And while stepping outside the comfort zone can feel scary at first, it is also where we discover strengths we didn't know we had. Fear also keeps us stuck by feeding self-doubt. When faced with change, we might question our abilities. We might wonder, "Do I have what it takes? Am I smart enough, skilled enough, strong enough to handle this?" These doubts can stop us before we even begin. But millionaires build confidence not by waiting for the fear to disappear, but by taking action. They know that confidence grows through doing. Each small step forward proves to us that we are capable. Each action chips away at the fear and builds a sense of strength and resilience. It is important to understand that fear will always be part of the process of change. The goal is not to eliminate fear completely. That is impossible, and unnecessary. Fear can be a helpful guide. It can alert us to real risks, encourage us to prepare carefully, and remind us to stay thoughtful. But fear should not be the driver of our decisions. Millionaires choose to listen to fear, but they do not let it lead. They weigh it alongside hope, vision, and possibility. They ask, "What might go right?" as well as, "What might go wrong?" This balanced view helps them make wiser choices and keeps them moving forward. One of the most powerful ways to overcome the fear that keeps us stuck is to take small, consistent steps. Big changes can feel overwhelming. But when we break them down into smaller actions, they become more manageable. Each small step builds momentum. Each small success builds confidence. Millionaires often say that action is the best remedy for fear. The more we do, the less power fear has over us. We begin to see that we are stronger than we thought, that the unknown is not as dangerous as it seemed, and that we can handle more than we imagined. In the end, fear is a natural part of facing change. But it does not have to keep us stuck. When we understand it, when we meet it with courage and action, we can move through it and toward the new opportunities that change brings. This is one of the greatest lessons of those who thrive through change: feel the fear, but move forward anyway. Chapter 4. The Courage to Look for New Cheese. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is the choice to act even when we feel afraid. It is the decision to take a step forward into the unknown because we believe that staying stuck is no longer an option. In the story of change, the moment when someone decides to look for new cheese, new opportunities, new paths, new solutions, is the turning point. It is the point where fear begins to lose its power and hope starts to grow. Millionaires and others who succeed in the face of change have learned that waiting for perfect conditions, waiting until all fear is gone, or waiting until the future feels completely safe will keep them standing still forever. Instead, they choose to act, to explore, and to search. They understand that progress comes through movement, and that courage is built one small step at a time. Looking for new cheese takes courage because it means leaving behind what is familiar. The old cheese, the job, the relationship, the routine, the way of thinking, may no longer serve us, but it was part of our identity. It was something we counted on. Letting go of it can feel like letting go of security, of comfort, or even of part of ourselves. But millionaires know that clinging to what no longer exists only leads to frustration and loss. They make peace with the past, honor what it gave them, and turn their focus to what comes next. This shift in focus, from what is gone to what is possible, is the first act of courage. Taking the first step is often the hardest. The unknown feels vast and uncertain. We wonder, what if I fail? What if I make the wrong choice? What if the new cheese is harder to find than I hoped? But action, even small action, quiets these fears. Millionaires break big changes into manageable parts. They set small goals, test new ideas, and learn as they go. They understand that they do not need to have everything figured out to begin. What matters is to begin. Each small success builds confidence. Each small discovery strengthens courage. And each small step makes the path ahead a little clearer. Looking for new cheese also means embracing curiosity. Millionaires and resilient people approach change not just with determination, but with a sense of exploration. They ask, "What can I learn? What new skills can I build? What opportunities might this change reveal?" This mindset turns fear into fuel for growth. It helps them stay open to new ideas, new connections, and new directions. It allows them to see change not as an obstacle, but as a chance to discover something better. And it helps them find joy in the journey, even before they reach their destination. Courage grows stronger through support. Millionaires rarely face change entirely alone. They seek advice, learn from mentors, and surround themselves with people who encourage and challenge them. They know that courage is easier to sustain when we have others walking with us. Sharing the journey, sharing doubts, hopes, and discoveries, makes the process of looking for new cheese less overwhelming. It reminds us that we are not the only ones navigating change and that together, we can go further. Another part of finding new cheese is staying flexible. The path forward is rarely straight. Millionaires are willing to adjust their plans, try different approaches, and learn from what doesn't work. They understand that courage includes the ability to say, "This path isn't leading where I hoped, let me try another." They do not see this as failure. They see it as part of the process of discovery. Each turn, each adjustment, brings them closer to success. In the end, the courage to look for new cheese is about trusting yourself. Trusting that you can handle uncertainty. Trusting that you can learn what you need to know. Trusting that you have the strength to build a new future. This trust is not built overnight. It is built through action, through each small step taken in the direction of something new. Millionaires know that courage is not something you wait for. It is something you choose, practice, and grow. And with each choice, the fear fades a little, the vision becomes clearer, and the future opens up in ways you could not have seen before. Chapter 5: Adapting Quickly. The key to success. Success in any area of life is not about avoiding change. It is about how well and how quickly we adapt when change happens. Millionaires, leaders, and resilient individuals understand this truth at a deep level. They know that life will always bring surprises, challenges, and new circumstances. The people who succeed are not the ones who try to keep everything the same, but the ones who can see what is happening, adjust their approach, and move forward. Quick adaptation is not about rushing without thinking. It is about staying aware, staying flexible, and taking thoughtful action without unnecessary delay. It is about responding to reality rather than clinging to what was or waiting too long for certainty that will never come. The ability to adapt quickly begins with mindset. Millionaires train themselves to expect change. They do not see stability as permanent. They see it as something that exists for a time and then gives way to something new. This mindset allows them to stay alert for signs that change is coming. They pay attention to shifts in their industry, in technology, in customer needs, or in their personal lives. They do not wait until the change is undeniable before they act. They notice the small signs, the early signals, and they start adjusting. This early awareness gives them a head start. While others may still be in denial or stuck in old patterns, they are already testing new strategies, exploring new paths, and positioning themselves for what comes next. Adapting quickly also means being willing to let go of what no longer works. This is not always easy. We invest time, energy, and emotion into our plans, projects, and relationships. Letting go can feel like admitting defeat. But millionaires see it differently. They understand that letting go of one approach frees them to try another that may work better. They do not see change in direction as failure. They see it as wisdom. They ask themselves, "What is this situation asking of me now? How can I adjust in a way that serves my goals, values, and growth?" This focus on learning and adjusting keeps them moving forward, even when the path is uncertain. Flexibility is at the heart of quick adaptation. Millionaires know that rigid thinking limits options. They stay open to new ideas, willing to consider different solutions, and ready to challenge their own assumptions. They listen to feedback. They seek out advice. They test small changes before committing to big ones. This flexible, curious approach helps them adapt in ways that are thoughtful and effective. It helps them avoid unnecessary risks while still moving with the flow of change. Quick adaptation also means acting with courage. Change often involves stepping into the unknown. The faster we act, the less time fear has to grow and paralyze us. Millionaires build the habit of taking small, smart steps forward. Each action creates momentum. Each step reduces the power of fear and increases confidence. They do not wait for perfect conditions, because they know those conditions rarely come. They act based on the best information available, adjust as they learn, and keep going. This willingness to act quickly and thoughtfully is a key reason they succeed where others hesitate. Another important part of adapting quickly is staying focused on the big picture. When change happens, it is easy to get caught up in details, stress, or small setbacks. Millionaires keep their eyes on their larger goals. They ask, "How does this change fit into my overall vision? What adjustments can I make that bring me closer to that vision?" This focus helps them stay steady during transitions. It helps them make decisions that serve their long-term success rather than reacting impulsively to short-term challenges. Quick adaptation is not about recklessness. It is about responsiveness. Millionaires do not change course at every small bump in the road. They change when the path itself has shifted. They balance speed with thoughtfulness. They move forward with clarity about why they are adapting and what they hope to achieve. This balance of speed and wisdom is what makes their adaptations effective. In the end, the ability to adapt quickly is one of the greatest advantages we can give ourselves. It allows us to face change with strength, to seize new opportunities, and to create success in an ever-changing world. It is not a talent we are born with. It is a skill we can build, one decision, one adjustment, one courageous step at a time. Chapter 6: Finding Joy in the Journey. When we face change, it's easy to focus only on the destination. We think, once I find the new cheese, once I get the new job, build the new business, or reach the next goal, then I'll be happy. But millionaires and others who navigate change successfully have learned a powerful truth. Happiness is not something we find at the end of the journey. It is something we can create along the way. Finding joy in the process of change helps us stay motivated, resilient, and hopeful. It turns the challenges of the journey into opportunities for growth and discovery. It reminds us that life is happening now, not someday in the future when everything is perfect. Joy in the journey begins with mindset. Millionaires choose to see change as an adventure rather than a burden. They approach the search for new opportunities with curiosity and openness. They ask, what can I learn here? What strengths am I discovering? What new possibilities are unfolding? This attitude turns obstacles into stepping stones. It helps them stay engaged and positive even when the path is uncertain. Joy grows not from avoiding difficulty, but from finding meaning and purpose in the midst of it. One way to find joy in the journey is to celebrate small wins. The search for new cheese is rarely a straight line. There will be setbacks and surprises. But along the way, there will also be progress, small steps forward, lessons learned, new connections made. Millionaires take time to notice and appreciate these moments. They recognize that success is built not only on big achievements, but on the many small actions that add up over time. Celebrating these steps builds confidence, reinforces positive habits, and keeps the journey rewarding. Another source of joy is growth. Change challenges us to stretch beyond our comfort zones. It asks us to develop new skills, try new approaches, and think in new ways. This growth can be uncomfortable at times, but it is also deeply fulfilling. Millionaires find joy in becoming stronger, wiser, and more capable through the process of change. They see each challenge as a chance to discover what they are made of. They take pride in their ability to adapt, learn, and overcome. Connection also brings joy during times of change. Millionaires understand that they do not have to navigate change alone. They seek out support, share their experiences, and build relationships with others who are on their own journeys. These connections provide encouragement, fresh ideas, and a sense of belonging. They remind us that we are not the only ones facing challenges, and that together, we can find strength and inspiration. Joy in the journey also comes from staying present. When we are focused only on the future, we miss the richness of the moment. Millionaires practice being fully engaged with where they are now. They notice the lessons, the beauty, and the opportunities that exist right here, even in the midst of uncertainty. This presence turns the process of change into a meaningful and rewarding experience rather than just something to endure until the goal is reached. Gratitude is another powerful source of joy. Millionaires take time each day to reflect on what they are thankful for, even during times of transition. Gratitude shifts focus from what is missing to what is already good. It helps us see abundance rather than lack, and possibility rather than limitation. This positive focus fuels hope and keeps the journey uplifting. Finding joy in the journey is not about pretending everything is easy or perfect. It is about choosing to focus on what is good, meaningful, and inspiring, even in the midst of challenge. It is about recognizing that the path itself is part of the reward. Millionaires know that if we wait until everything is settled and secure to feel joy, we may wait forever. But if we choose to find joy along the way, we enrich every step of the journey and build a life that is both successful and fulfilling. Chapter 7. Sharing the lessons of change. One of the most powerful things we can do after we've faced change and learned to adapt is to share what we've learned with others. Change is something everyone experiences, yet when it happens, it can feel isolating. We often believe we are the only ones struggling, the only ones unsure of what to do next. But the truth is, every person we meet has faced or will face moments of change that test their courage, their flexibility, and their hope. Millionaires, leaders, and wise individuals understand this. They do not keep their lessons to themselves. They share their stories, insights, and strategies to help others navigate their own journeys. In doing so, they build stronger teams, families, and communities. Sharing the lessons of change begins with honesty. When we speak openly about the challenges we've faced, we let others know that it's normal to struggle. We create space for real conversations about fear, uncertainty, and growth. Millionaires who mentor others, for example, don't just talk about their successes. They talk about their failures, their mistakes, and the moments when they felt lost. They show that resilience is not about having all the answers or never falling down. It's about getting back up, learning from the experience, and continuing to move forward. This kind of honesty inspires trust and gives others permission to be honest about their own challenges. Another way to share the lessons of change is through listening. Often, the best support we can offer is not advice, but attention. When we listen to others as they face change, we help them feel seen and heard. We give them space to process their thoughts and feelings, which can bring clarity and relief. Millionaires who lead teams know this well. They create environments where people feel safe to share concerns and ideas. They understand that change is easier to navigate when people feel supported, not judged. By listening with empathy, we help others find their own strength and solutions. Sharing our lessons can also take the form of guidance. When someone is facing a change we've been through, we can offer practical suggestions. We can share what helped us stay focused, how we built confidence, or what small steps made the biggest difference. Millionaires often say that they stand on the shoulders of those who came before them. They recognize the value of learning from others' experiences and are eager to pass on that value in return. This spirit of mentorship creates a ripple effect, spreading resilience, courage, and wisdom far beyond ourselves. Another important part of sharing the lessons of change is modeling the mindset we want to encourage. Actions speak louder than words. When others see us facing change with openness, curiosity, and hope, they are more likely to do the same. Millionaires who handle change well set an example for their teams, families, and communities. They show that it's possible to stay calm in uncertainty, to adapt with grace, and to find opportunity in challenge. This quiet leadership often has more impact than any speech or advice. Sharing our lessons also strengthens our own growth. When we teach others, we deepen our understanding of what we've learned. We reflect on our journey, recognize how far we've come, and clarify what we value most. Millionaires who mentor others often say that the process helps them stay grounded, focused, and humble. It reminds them that success is not just about personal gain, but about contributing to something larger than themselves. Finally, sharing the lessons of change helps create a culture that embraces change rather than fears it. When we talk openly about the realities of change, the challenges, the fears, the rewards, we make it easier for everyone to navigate. We create communities where people support one another through transitions, celebrate each other's growth, and work together to find new opportunities. This culture of openness, support, and shared learning is one of the greatest gifts we can give to those around us. In the end, sharing the lessons of change is not just about helping others. It is about building a world where change is seen not as a threat, but as a natural and even welcome part of life. It is about lifting one another up so that we can all move forward with greater courage, wisdom, and hope. Chapter 8. Creating a life ready for change. If there is one thing we can count on in life, it is that change will come. Sometimes it arrives slowly, giving us time to prepare. Other times, it comes suddenly, catching us by surprise. Either way, the key to thriving through change is to build a life that is ready for it. Millionaires, leaders, and resilient people know this well. They do not wait for change to force them into action. Instead, they create habits, mindsets, and systems that help them stay ready, steady, and strong no matter what happens. This chapter is about how we can do the same, how we can build lives that are flexible, focused, and able to adapt when the world around us shifts. Creating a life ready for change begins with how we think. Our mindset shapes how we see the world and how we respond to challenges. Millionaires build a mindset of openness and curiosity. They expect change rather than resist it. They see it not as a disruption, but as a normal part of growth. They ask, "What can I learn from this? How can this help me become better?" This way of thinking turns change from something to fear into something to work with. When we practice seeing change as an opportunity rather than a threat, we train ourselves to stay calm and focused when change happens. Another part of creating a life ready for change is building strong habits. Habits are the small daily actions that shape our lives. Millionaires focus on habits that keep them healthy, clear-minded, and ready to act. They prioritize exercise, good nutrition, rest, and learning. These habits give them energy and resilience. When change comes, they have the physical and mental strength to face it. They also build habits of reflection, planning, and gratitude. These practices help them stay grounded in what matters most, even during uncertain times. When we build strong habits, we create a foundation that supports us through whatever changes may come. Flexibility is also key to creating a life ready for change. This means staying open to new ideas, new ways of doing things, and new possibilities. Millionaires avoid rigid thinking. They are willing to adjust their plans, try different approaches, and learn from what doesn't work. They understand that flexibility is a strength, not a weakness. It allows them to move with change rather than fight against it. When we practice flexibility in small ways each day, we become better able to handle big changes when they happen. Connection is another important part of a change-ready life. Millionaires build strong networks of support. They surround themselves with people who inspire, challenge, and encourage them. They seek mentors, collaborate with peers, and support those who are on their own journeys. These connections provide ideas, feedback, and strength during times of change. They remind us that we do not have to face challenges alone. When we build and nurture positive relationships, we create a web of support that helps us navigate change with confidence. Financial preparation is also part of being ready for change. Millionaires understand that financial flexibility gives them choices during uncertain times. They build savings, manage risks, and invest wisely. This financial strength allows them to adapt without panic when change affects their work, their business, or the economy. We can follow this example by practicing smart money habits, saving regularly, living within our means, and planning for the future. These actions give us greater security and freedom when change comes. Finally, creating a life ready for change means committing to lifelong learning. Millionaires are constant learners. They read, listen, ask questions, and seek new skills. They know that the world is always evolving and that staying curious keeps them ready for what's next. Learning helps us see change not as a disruption, but as an opportunity to grow. It keeps our minds sharp, our ideas fresh, and our confidence strong. In the end, creating a life ready for change is about building strength from the inside out. It is about preparing not just for the changes we can see coming, but also for the ones we cannot predict. It is about living each day with intention, flexibility, and hope. When we do this, we do not just survive change, we thrive through it. And we build a life that is rich in growth, meaning, and possibility. Conclusion: change is not something that happens once in a while. It is part of the flow of life itself. The sooner we accept this truth, the easier it becomes to move through change with strength, grace, and confidence. The journey we have explored in this book is about understanding that the cheese we count on, the jobs, routines, relationships, or ways of thinking that feel safe and familiar, will not always stay the same. And that's okay. Millionaires, leaders, and resilient people have learned to stop asking, "Who ate my cheese?" and instead ask, "Where is my new cheese and how can I find it?" They focus on what's next, not on what's lost. They understand that the power to shape their future lies in how they respond to change today. The lessons we have explored in these pages are simple but powerful. First, expect change. When you build a mindset that sees change as a normal part of life, you stop being shocked or overwhelmed when it happens. You can prepare, adjust, and act rather than freeze in fear. Second, pay attention. Learn to recognize the early signs that the cheese is gone or going. Stay aware of what's happening in your world, at work, in your relationships, in yourself. This awareness gives you the chance to adapt before you're forced to. Third, face your fears. Fear is natural, but it does not have to control your choices. Take small steps. Build confidence through action. Remember that courage grows with practice. Fourth, move. Don't wait for conditions to be perfect. Don't wait for the fear to disappear. Begin, even if the path isn't completely clear. Each step will teach you, guide you, and make the next step easier. Fifth, find joy in the journey. Don't put happiness on hold until you find the new cheese or reach the next goal. Choose to celebrate progress. Look for lessons. Stay present. The journey itself is rich with opportunities for growth, connection, and discovery. Sixth, share what you learn. Help others navigate change. Be honest about your struggles and your successes. Listen, encourage, and model resilience. When we lift each other up, change becomes easier for everyone. Seventh, build a life that's ready for change. Develop habits, mindsets, and systems that keep you strong, flexible, and focused. Prioritize health, learning, connection, and financial security. These are the foundations that help you face whatever comes with confidence. Above all, remember that change is not your enemy. It is your teacher. It is the force that helps you grow, expand, and become the person you are meant to be. When you meet change with openness, curiosity, and courage, you stop fearing the loss of the old cheese. Instead, you start creating a future that is even richer, more meaningful, and more aligned with who you truly are. Millionaires and resilient people don't have fewer changes or challenges than anyone else. They simply choose to see change as a chance to build something better. And so can you. This book has offered ideas and strategies to help you navigate change, but the real power lies in what you do next. How will you apply these lessons in your life? How will you choose to meet the changes that are happening now, or that will come tomorrow? The choice is yours. Change will happen whether you are ready or not. But readiness is something you can build. It starts with a decision to stop clinging to the past, to stop waiting for certainty, and to start moving forward with purpose, hope, and heart. That is the path of those who thrive through change. That is the invitation of this book. And that is the opportunity waiting for you today.